How do we prepare for installation of Oracle on Linux? Well, first, we want to consult the Oracle documentation in the Oracle base blog. What do I mean by that? Well, number one, I've already showed you the Oracle Database Document Library, or the documentation library, to be formal about it. And we have a whole section of HTML and PDF files for Linux installation, so there's that. Of course, you'll need to get the software from the Oracle Technology Network website. We've already been there, done that, bought the proverbial t-shirt. If we're going to use Oracle's own Linux, we'll want the distribution here for Linux x86-64, and if we see all, takes us to a separate page, and we have two zip files, each one a little bit over a gigabyte, that comprises the database itself. And if you're going to do a grid infrastructure install, you notice that those zip files are just below. What is this Oracle base that I speak of? This is oracle-base.com. One of definitely your top 3 or 4 Oracle web resources. In my opinion, right up there with the Oracle Technology Network and the documentation library should be this site. Let me go to the About page. It's run by a trainer in a DBA named Tim Hall out of the UK, and he's just fantastic. We're going to rely upon a couple of his articles pretty heavily in this module because in my experience as a Linux person, recipes are awfully helpful because who has all of those commands and arcane switches in their mind all the time? I mean, I know people that are like that are so ingrained with Linux, but many of us are not, so we can turn to so-called recipes that give us just a quick reminder of what we need to do to accomplish particular tasks in Linux. The next step in installing on Linux after we take care of the release notes, the quick install guide, and look at some recipes is that we want to take advantage of the Oracle Database Prerequisite RPM. What is this? Well, I'm going to show you in the demo, but the long story short is that Oracle has a Red Hat Package Manager RPM package that you can run. I'm sure you could get it to run under other Linux distributions, but it's optimized for running under Oracle Linux or Red Hat Linux, and it takes care of most of the prerequisites in terms of creating the Oracle user, the DBA and OInstall groups, patching the kernel, a lot of stuff that normally you'd have to futz around with manually. So that's an excellent, excellent tip that I think will pay big dividends for you. And then after we install, like I said, it's up to you as a DBA to set environment variables and configure the instance and database to auto start. That's not too difficult to do. You just have to be aware of A, that you need to do it, and B, you need to have a recipe to accomplish the task. And that's that for the slides. Let's jump right into the demo because we have quite a bit of work to do.